Hello, I'm Owen Jones, and I'm going to go through your comments. This is kind of like a counselling session, but who's counselling who? I think you're giving me quite a lot of emotional support, but I'd like to think it isn't entirely one way. Susie Hartshorn, you should be able to vote online in this day and age. Amen, Susie. Our electoral system is just so backward. It's this 19th century, 18th century form of voting, and I just think we could do a bit better. People have busy lives. Registration, I mean, because of the government's voter registration changes, that's been made harder. But yeah, obviously you have to march up to a polling station and vote. And I know that sounds like not a big amount of hassle, and I'd urge all people to do it, to exercise their democratic rights. The reality is, lots of people just don't do it because they think of it as too much hassle. So I think we should have online voting. I think we can make it secure. Maybe we could do it through mobile phones, that sort of thing. People can do it on the go. There is always that fear of fraud, and that's why the Electoral Reform Society should look into how it could work in practice. But I'd like to bring our voting system into the 21st century. I'd like voting to be as easy as possible. I think that would improve turnout, not least amongst younger people who don't understand why you have to march to a polling station to vote. Nicholas Mitchell, Owen Jones is a lizard. Well, Nicholas, that is an absolute smear. I don't understand what sort of basis you have for saying that. Mr. Skyman 457. I'm a Tory and I love this channel. It's always nice to have my ideas challenged. I suppose that is the ultimate compliment because I'd like to think I'm not just babbling, well, I am babbling, I think we all know that, but I'm not just speaking to the converted. You know, one of the things I've always trying to do is, in a sense, rebel against the kind of traditional left-wing thing of, you know, where you only speak to people like yourself, you become a subculture, you only speak in words and phrases and rhetoric that you all understand. What I'm trying to do, I know it's a bit ambitious, so I don't always get it right, but it's to try and go beyond that. Part of that is people like you, Mr. Skyman457, being a Tory and coming to my channel. So that was a sign of success, and, you know, thanks. Maybe you won't stay a Tory by the end of it. The Tim Doyle, hello. So the Labour Party is full of anti-Semites, but you think the topic of the day should be the Tories. I really don't think anyone could accuse me of not being uncompromising when it comes to the issue of anti-Semitism. I've written so many articles now about anti-Semitism on the left, challenging it wherever it may be. It's a very serious matter for me. I spoke out immediately to demand Ken Livingstone's suspension. I got a lot of stick for doing so, for supporting the Labour leadership's decision and their decision to set up an inquiry. I went on TV to support it, tweeted about it, wrote about it, and I got called an, establishment lackey and all the rest. So, you know what, Tim Doyle, I'm not going to take that. The other point, though, the Labour Party is not full of anti-Semites. The vast majority of people I've met who are on the left or in the Labour Party abhor anti-Semitism in all its forms and look at kind of anti-Semitic behaviour with horror. And I think it's very important sometimes to take me, I'm a very passionate critic of the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territory. It's a very brutal occupation, and I want to challenge that, and you can do that without indulging anti-Semitic tropes. Of course that's the case, and wherever they crop up, I will challenge them, and have done, and will continue to do so. But it is outrageous to say the Labour Party is brimming with anti-Semites. I think they're a small minority. There's an inquiry the Labour Party have actually set up to deal with it. I'd like to see other parties set up inquiries into their very systemic racism, which they haven't done. My worry, the Tim Doyle, is that rather than seeing this as an issue of we need to deal with anti-Semitism, because it's a very serious issue and we should deal with it, I think you see it as a political football. I just think you think this is a convenient way of attacking the Labour Party and the left. And I think the problem with that, it's not just a smear on the left and the Labour Party as a whole, but it also belittles the seriousness of anti-Semitism and makes it harder to fight. And that's very serious. I think anti-Semitism should be identified for what it is and fought and taken on. 1C90 Liam. What absolute nonsense, you angelic-faced student, loony left-wing bore. I just wish my exes would stop bombarding my comment section. I used to get that day in, day out from you, Liam. You know what I'm talking about, Liam. You remember those days? Those days we spent on the meadows, looking into each other's eyes. Those were freer, happier times. But now all I am to you is an angelic-faced student, a loony left bore. Think Jack Daniel, hello, don't fool yourself, mate, we don't currently live in a democracy. Well, we do, it's just got massive caveats. So, look, I can say what I want. I could call, as a Twitter account once famously said, I could say David Cameron is a pie. I've not been arrested. See? No one's come in. Police! Police! No police officer from the ceiling and drags me off. kicking and screaming. And I can, do that. I can go out and protest. I can go and vote for a political party of my choice at a general election. So obviously there are democratic norms. It's just pointless pretending otherwise. The problem is we have, for example, a press which we say is free, but is in reality not controlled by the government, but controlled by a very small group of very politically motivated media moguls. We have huge stranglehold of big money over politics, from everything from lobbying to funding of political parties. So obviously, we have huge constraints. Our democracy is weighted in favour of a tiny, rich elite. But I think if we just say we're not in a democracy, which you can say without being arrested, and you can vote and all the rest of it, I just think people don't take it seriously, because look at China or Saudi Arabia, they're not democracies. I think we'd all agree on that, hopefully. So yeah, I'd say it's a democracy with caveats, and what I'm interested in is getting rid of those caveats and having a true, genuine democracy where everyone is truly equal rather than, being run in the interest of a tiny racket. Fallihag, who stole your bike? Or did you sell it to buy new clothes? Rude. What are you trying to say about my sartorial? You know what? It kind of combines, kind of a casual, elegant look, I think, or whatever. Well, actually, Fallihag, the reason is my beloved cat. I love Keir. I think I've made that abundantly clear. But he's got this habit. He loves wheels. It's his thing. We've all got a thing. With Keir, it's wheels. And what he does is he just sits there, just spinning the wheels. But the problem is he's got quite sharp claws. I often have to clip him. And he keeps basically giving punctures to the bike. It's ridiculous. So we have to leave them downstairs. And there's a risk they'll get stolen, but at least we don't have flat tyres. Aaron Bowman. A call to arms, not literally, might be the most British sentence ever uttered. And why we'll never have a revolution in this country. Well, I had to caveat it because I don't want to get arrested for incitement for doing a YouTube video. And some people they will take it literally. And then it'll be Guardian columnist in armed insurrection called in the Daily Mail the next day, and can't be bothered, frankly. But yeah, it doesn't mean I'm not trying to get people to, not, punch each other, but just, instead of just being passively frustrated about all the injustices, to go and do something about it. So that doesn't obviously mean an armed insurrection with guns and that. I'd be a terrible gun person. Look at me. But I think, trying to get people to organise and build pressure from below and build a different sort of society, that's what I'm all about, really. Not, just sitting here listening to me babble, but watch occasionally one of these videos and think, gonna do something about it. Thanks for all those comments. They were interesting. They were certainly interesting, some of them, but they were a pleasure as always. So please do keep leaving them there, whether you're a Tory or not. And subscribe, spread the word. You know what? Get other people to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.